Okay, so I want to do an example for probability and statistics using the linear least squares regression method. And for this example, we're told a set consists of 4 points that have the following coordinates. So we have the x coordinates and the y coordinates. So we're told if a linear least squares regression is used, the equation that best fits this data is most nearly what? So what's the equation here? A, B, C, or D? So the method that you can use, and you can do this by hand, I do not recommend this. If you have the appropriate calculator, you can refer to this page. We're gonna use linear regression and goodness of fit. We're using the least squares method, and it's on page 69 in the new FE handbook. So what you have to do, this is our final equation, a plus bx. It's like mx plus b, right? Mx plus b. So we have to find our b term. We have to find a. Then these b and a, both b and a, depend on these variables, right? Most specifically, it's going to be the sum of the squares of the x, sum squares of the y, and sum of the xy products. So you're going to have to do all of that in the table. But I'll make this video short. The whole point of this video is showing you how to use the calculator to save you time on your FE exam. So if I go back to the solution here, I'll just quickly tell you that what we would do the long way is essentially we have the x, we have the y, we're gonna call this xy, we're gonna call this x squared, and we're gonna call this y squared. So what you have to do is plug in your x variables. So we have 2.3, this is gonna be 1.2, so that's 1.2, this is 4.2, this is 6.3, I'm just looking above. This is going to be 5.6, this is going to be 4.1, this is 8.6, this is 10.1. So what you have to do now is multiply x times y, and you have to do all the math and fill up these numbers. So what you're doing is just multiplying x times y and fill it here. You have to do x times y, fill it here. And then you have to do the x squared and fill it here, 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 here. So what you have to do is take this number and square it and put it here. Then what you do is y squared, fill it in, and you just take your y values here and square them and fill them in here. Then at the bottom of this table, what you will do is the summation. So you can do the summation, you sum all of these, sum all of these, then you have to sum all of these, sum all of these, sum all of these. So you'll have values in these spaces here. Specifically, you'll have summation of the whole column here, summation, the whole column, a summation value of this whole column, summation value of this whole column, summation value of this whole column. So you will get all of that, and then you also have to find the average below that. So below that, you'll find the average just for these, right? So you'll need to have average values for these columns, this one and this one. So this is the long method, and this will allow you to solve for your SXY, the S sub XX, and the S sub YY using the long method, and that's going to be based on the FE handbook. And I will not go into details because I want to use the calculator to save you a lot of time on this example if you get on the FE exam. It's very common, I believe, for this question to show up. So let's look at using the calculator. So the end goal is to have this form, right, in the answers given. And if I look at the calculator, I'm going to be using the TI-30X Pro. It works the same as the TI-36X Pro. So if you have the X or the 36X, it will be the same. And I believe the one before this, the 30XS, the green one, might also be able to do this. So this is a handy calculator. I recommend this calculator to all my students. So what you do, the first thing always for these probability and statistics questions, clear the calculator. So go to second, click at the 0. No, we click second for the blue, right? So we're going to reset it. Go to second, reset. It asks you, do you want to reset? Click yes, click enter. Then you clear it, that screen goes away. Then what do? We plug in this data. So what do? We're going to click on data, and this is going to be my L1 value. So I'm going to plug in 2.3, enter. I'm going to plug in 1.2, enter. I'm going to plug in 4.2, enter. I'm going to plug in 6.3, enter. So we're done with that column. Next column is the L2. I'm going to plug in my Y values. So 5.6, enter. 4.1, enter. 8.6, or you can just go down. Then 10.1, enter. And I believe we plugged in all of our values in the L1 and L2 columns. L1 is for X, L2 is for Y. Let me bring this back up. So we have this now. We have the data plugged in. Then what you will do is click on second, then click on stat/regression/distribution. Click that second. We're looking at this blue. That's why we click second. Click on that again on data. Then what you will do is go down, click on number 4, linear regression. And note here, the form that it's given, it's AX plus B. So if we go back to our handbook has it in terms of A plus BX. So that this is confusing because the A and B are switched from our calculator, right? Compared to our calculator. So don't get confused there. In the handbook, it's in this form. But in the calculator, it's going to be in the following form. It's going to be AX plus B. So our B value is switched with our A value, and our A value is going to be our B value in the answer choices in the question. So we have to denote that. This is important, and it's going to be switched. So what you do here is click enter on this, and all of this is fine. So all you have to do is go down here and click calculate. So we have our A value is 1.2, around 1.2. Our B value is around 2.9. But note here that our A value is going to be our B value. So it's confusing. And our B value is going to be our A value. So you just have to remember that if you have this calculator. So that means our A value will be our B value. So let's write our B value as 1.2. So I'm going to go here, write the B value as 1.2. Our A value will be what? If we go back to the calculator, it's not the 1.2. It's the 1.2 in the calculator, but it's the 2.9. I'm sorry, it's going to be, what we did was our B value, right? The A value is going to be the 2.9 because I'm looking with respect to the handbook. So it's going to be this 2.9 for B, right? Which is our A value in the calculator. So it's going to be 2.9. So plug in 2.9. So our final answer should be y equals to what? With respect to our handbook, it's going to be A plus BX, right? So it's A hat plus B hat times X. So y equals, A is what? 2.9 plus our B value is 1.2 times X. So this will be our answer. And we quickly did that with our calculator. Instead of doing all of this math, this will save us a ton of time on the FE exam. So the correct answer should be A. And before we finish off this video, I would just want to say that we can also find the R squared value and the R value. So you might be asked these values, the R squared and the R value. These are also given in the handbook on this page. So it's going to be page 70 in the new FE handbook, the R value and the R squared value. The R value is the sample correlation coefficient. R squared is the coefficient of determination. So this is a value typically you might have seen it in the Excel when you do the line of best fit, right? The higher it is, the more accurate your line of best fit is. So this is the R squared value and the R value. It's arrived at by this equation, but the calculator gives you this here. It says the r squared is 3 here, so it's around 0.97, and the r value is going to be 0.98599. So that's that. Just a heads up, you have these values as well if you use the calculator. So let me know if you have questions. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and thank you.